to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and my next guest, I'm honored to welcome her, known as the Oracle of Wealth, a transformational coach and spiritual mentor. She's helped conscious entrepreneurs overcome energetic blocks and unlock breakthrough wealth by bridging ancient wisdom, quantum mechanics, and cutting-edge business strategy. Her journey from six-figure success through devastating loss to profound rebirth has given her unique insights into aligning personal energy with financial abundance. As the host of the Wealth and Body podcast, she empowers visionary leaders to build legacy enterprises that not only transform their businesses, but also create meaningful change in the world. Today, she shares the powerful lessons that turned her darkest moments into a life of purpose and prosperity. Prosperity. Welcome to the show, Alara Sage. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. All right, so we can just jump right into it. I got some questions for you.
Yeah.
So, what was the moment that completely changed your perspective on wealth and success?
Yes. So in 2021, my business was six figures and I had plenty of money. And yeah, money wasn't an issue at all. And then I went through a process where all of my money was stolen. And in that moment, really hit this, of course, inner fear. You know, I remember really literally dropping to my knees and just taking a deep breath in because the fear had basically like knocked the wind out of me. The moments before that, the weeks leading up to where my money was stolen, I, for the first time in my life, was not paying off my credit card, my monthly credit card. I would just pay off my monthly credit card every month. And I found myself not doing that. And so for the first time in my life, not only had all my money been stolen, but I now was a very small amount of money in debt. I breathed into my body and really told myself that I've always been able to create what I desire. I've always had the ability to manifest what I want. And so I regained my composure and really set about reestablishing myself. But that's not what happened. Instead of me just earning my money back, my six-figure business crumbled, collapsed, and I went into even more debt. So from plenty of six-figure money, plenty of money, to now in debt in a very short amount of time. And it caused me to pause. It caused me to take a step back. You know, I work with self-awareness. I work with the process of recognizing the choices that we're making rooted in the limiting beliefs that we carry. But the truth was, is I was blind to my relationship to wealth. So when everything stopped working and I found myself in this debt, I had to take that step back and I had to really ask myself, what is really the purpose behind all of this? What am I trying to learn so badly that I'm creating this very substantial experience for myself? And what I found and what I uncovered was that I had a dysfunctional relationship to money. And I had money, so I didn't have to really look at the relationship of money. But the relationship had always been there. It had always been dysfunctional. And so through my process of recognizing that dysfunction, speaking to money, learning how to heal that relationship with money, I was able to recreate my wealth. But this time from a completely different space. This time really rooted in a sense of connection to money, love for money, love for what money represents, an intimate relationship connection to money itself and all that wealth represents.
Can excuse me. Can you share how you integrated ancient wisdom with quantum mechanics to create your wealth alignment process?
So, understanding quantum physics is the understanding that everything exists simultaneously. And so, in spirituality, we talk a lot about abundance, right? Abundance is our natural state of being, but how many of us actually live that truth? Very few. Why is that? Right? Because we're chosen this particular identity, this particular part of our experience through the belief structures that we inhabit. So in quantum mechanics, there is a version of you that is that abundant self. There is a version of you that exists in the quantum field that is embodied, living all of your desires. And by using imagination, because the brain doesn't know the difference between when you're imagining something and when you're experiencing it in quote unquote reality. So you can use your imagination to trigger your mind and trigger emotions. And emotions are chemical reactions in the body. Your body responds to them at a cellular level. So by using imagination and triggering emotions, you can start to collapse the quantum field into this version of you that you truly desire to be. You can what's called quantum leap into that version of yourself by recognizing, identifying yourself as this new version of yourself, and allowing that identification to then create new belief structures, new habits, new patterns. And the process is very, very simple. And where people go wrong is really in being out of the present moment. So the ancient wisdom that I really work with is the breath, because the breath is always available. It's always here. It's always free. And the breath always pulls us into the moment and works to bring us into a state of coherence where our mind, our body, our spirit are all working in harmonic resonance. So by using the breath consistently with myself and using the imagination and my emotions, I was able to collapse time and shift into the version of myself that was living this wealthy life.
Well, actually, that's something I've been working on personally. Is every morning I wake up, I say my prayer, and I work on my breath, and take time every morning to just breathe and inhale, exhale. And it's been amazing because this is something, this personally, I've dedicated 2025 to really working on my relationship with God, spirit, the universe. And and once I started that, things have really started opening up. Opportunities have been arising, and I owe it to the fact that I've been really wanting to just to discover the true me. I want to become the person that I am meant to be, and so I started doing all these things, and just like the one of the first things I did at the beginning of the year was write a letter to the universe. And when I put that letter out there, things just started manifesting. Things just started happening, and it was just, I was like just blown out the water because it was just amazing to me.
I love that so much. I actually say that wealth is as effortless as breathing, because breathing is our fundamental relationship exchange. Wealth is just the exchange of energy. That's all it is. We're receiving, we're holding, and we're giving resource. We're giving energy, we're giving money, we're giving wealth. So the art of wealth is really in the breath, and an understanding that the breath is that fundamental exchange with ourselves, with our subconscious and our conscious mind, with God, with source, with all of our desires. And so when we connect into the breath, just as you so beautifully put, we start to understand the different dynamics of receiving, which is the inhale, giving, which is the exhale, and the pause between those breaths is the holding, the being with. So it's a very simplistic diagnostic experience for somebody. If they are struggling to receive wealth, receive money, receive opportunity, receive resource, they can really start to tap into their inhale. And does the inhale feel really available and abundant? Can you just inhale deeply into your belly? Really nice, deep inhale. Does it feel relaxed in your body, or does there feel like there's tension? Does it feel like most of your inhalations are very shallow, short? Same goes with the exhalation. If you're somebody who finds yourself kind of spending too much, or spending from a place of lack of being conscious and intentional about your spending, you could really tap in to the exhale. And the pause between those is simultaneously the pause between thought, the spaciousness of just simply being. Because even people with a lot of money, I work with clients who are very wealthy. And the most interesting thing is, they don't just experience wealth. They actually experience, for the most part, high levels of anxiety. Their anxiety, their fear doesn't go away because they have money, because money is never the solution. And we think of it as a solution to our problems. And of course, it's momentarily a solution to our problems. Yes, you need to put food on the table. Yes, you need to pay your rent. However, the deeper solution is that connection with ourself to God. And so that spaciousness between the breaths, the pause after the exhale, the pause before that inhalation, is where we feel really safe to be who we are authentically. And when we feel really safe to be who we are authentically, we have the capacity to hold money, to be with money. Because that's also another aspect of wealth, is it's not just about making money. It's not just about making more money. It's about the capacity to hold money, to be with the power of money, to invest your money wisely. And again, this is really seen in, people who win the lottery. Most of them go bankrupt in 6 months because they can't hold that energy. Because fundamentally, they don't feel accepted just as who they are. So that being, that presence isn't available, just as you so wonderfully put. And that's really that deep connection. And so money and wealth is simply a reflection of that fundamental relationship that we have with God.
What energetic blocks do you most frequently see in conscious entrepreneurs, and how do you help them overcome these?
I find that there's 3 fundamental blocks. The first one is worthiness, believing that we are unworthy. And this is all of these are all throughout humanity. So I always invite people to be in a state of open-mindedness, curiousness. Where might I hold these limiting beliefs, rather than, oh, I don't feel that, I don't have it. So unworthiness is rooted in our ability to receive. If we don't believe that we are worthy, we won't be able to receive money at all. We won't be able to receive money consistently. We won't be able to receive high quantities of money. So that's the first block. The second one is the belief of rejection, abandonment. This is what I was speaking to about the acceptance. With this block, this is really if you struggle to save money, hold on to money. If as soon as you gain money, another unexpected bill comes in and the money has to go out immediately, this block about really accepting who you are innately within yourself, your authentic self, is a fundamental limiting belief that you'll be rejected, abandoned by your community, by the tribe, if you were to show up authentically. And then the third primary limiting belief is disbelief in our vision, disbelief in our capacity, distrust within ourselves and with our relationship to God, that self-doubt. Maybe you have that big creation, you have that thing you want to create, and then you go to start it, and all of a sudden you doubt yourself, you doubt your capacity, you doubt your ability to follow through, you doubt you have what it takes. that self-doubt, that disbelief is the energy that is rooted in our ability to truly give our gifts. So it's the part of money of giving. Truly give our gifts, give our creations to the world, and believe that they matter, that they'll be received by others.
How has your personal journey from success to loss and then rebirth shaped your approach to coaching?
Well, I coach through experience. So, having walked over the fire, what it did was it stripped me really away of my blindness to my connection to my unworthiness, my connection to my fear of acceptance, my disbelief in myself. It stripped all of that away, and I had to look at it. And through that process of looking at it, I'm able to help others. And, just recently I had a client who really has been very successful in her business. She writes copy for other companies, and she was at a plateau making $250,000 a year. And she really wanted to move past that plateau. And she couldn't see what it was that was holding her back. And so because I feel like I've walked the fire, I have this ability to really recognize in people these limiting beliefs and where the blocks are and where flow exists, because flow always exists. It always exists in your space. It's just about recognizing where the flow already is of wealth in your life and in your business and aligning your action to that. So through this process with her, I was able to help her see where that flow was in her business. And it was fundamentally rooted in this whole process of unworthiness within herself and really tapping into deeper levels of that. And as we transmuted that, she was able to really shift herself very quickly into that next level of $500K a year, simply from really shifting that one block, and then the subtle changes we made in her business to align to where the flow already existed.
You mentioned align. What does wealth alignment mean to you, and how can someone start to achieve it?
That's a great question. So wealth alignment to me is, as I mentioned, wealth is always flowing. Wealth is the circulation of energy, right? Of resource. And it never stops circulating. It never stops flowing. And it's always flowing in our life. I like to say it's the same as, the seasons. There's summer and there's winter. It doesn't stay the same season all the time. Same as an apple tree in your backyard doesn't hold fruit the entire year. It'll burst with fruit, and then resource energy will shift, and that resource will go into another fruit, another food that comes into season, right? Resource is always shifting. So it's about understanding where it already exists in your business and in your life. And, this is some simple questions of really tapping into your intuition. What are the spaces, the actions, the areas of your life that you feel drawn to, you feel called, you have those intuitive hits to take this action, to reach out to this person? Everybody has these intuitive hits, and most people don't listen to them. So when you recognize those intuitive hits and you take action on them, they automatically align you to that flow. They automatically align you to the fruit tree that's in season. And then the next fruit tree or the next crop that goes into season. You move with where the flow already exists rather than trying to, squeeze extra fruit out of the fruit tree.
How do you balance the practical aspects of business strategy with the spiritual elements of intuitive healing?
It really, again, comes down to intuition. We've put so much of our power outside of ourselves. And strategy is very important. Strategy, systems, these are all very important things. But for the most part, most entrepreneurs give all their power to strategy It has to be the strategy that isn't working. What is the next strategy? What is the strategy that everybody's doing now? What's the hot trend? What's the new thing? That may or may not be relevant for you. So again, being able to connect to that intuition, when you really connect into that breath and you just breathe, again, as you so wonderfully put, you take a pause, you breathe, you relax into your breath, you just simply feel that fluidity, that consistent rhythm of the inhale, the exhale, consistent rhythm of flow in your body. When you connect into that space is where your intuition arises from. That's where the messages, the information, the how comes through. The how is not in our mind. If you're trying to understand how to accomplish something, you're missing the flow of wealth in a big way. So the question becomes, where is your intuition guiding you? Again, I had a client who, through the process of working with me, she says, it's so beautiful because all of the strategy just shows up. As she understands the connection to her intuition, as she continues to breathe and be present with herself, strategy arises, and it's the perfect strategy for her business in that moment. She doesn't have to go seek it out. She definitely doesn't have to figure out how she's going to create her next level wealth. It arises from that connection to that flow of your breath and that presence and that connection between you and source.
Definitely. Excuse me. How do you help your clients transform their mindset to help unlock their true financial potential?
Mindset is so powerful, right? Because our minds create our reality. So, and simultaneously, just as I've been speaking to, our minds can get in the way. Biggest question people ask me is how? How am I going to create this? But again, that's not up to you as in your physical human mind. We have something called our higher mind. And our higher mind is a part of ourself that isn't in physical form, but can see what we're working to create. And so people call this their guides. They call it their higher self. There's a lot of different names for it. But your higher mind has the vision that you don't have. It's like you're down on the ground and you're trying to go on a hike across the country. You can only see what's in front of you. You can't see the whole entire path. And, you can't see that maybe, obviously being dramatic here, there's a volcano erupting somewhere along the way that you'll have to go around. Your higher self has a bird's eye view and can see the entire journey and can literally see the pathway of least resistance for you. So again, by connecting into your breath, listening to your intuition, you learn to follow that internal guidance. Now your mind starts to serve that intuition. And you can use your mind through really connecting very clearly with belief structures of, I will create this, really using your path rather than using your mind to create the path.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their current financial situation and they feel like there's no resolution?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I have absolute compassion for you. And I want to acknowledge everything you feel, the anxiety, the frustration, all of those are real emotions. And the first thing I recommend is you sit down and you recognize, what is your relationship to money? Do you feel safe with money? Do you feel safe to look at your finances? Do you feel safe to talk about money to your partner, to your family, to your friends? Do you enjoy your transactions with money? Do you feel anxiety around money? Do you try to avoid money? Do you often feel unsafe or unworthy? Just recognizing your relationship to money is transformational. And you can even spend some time contemplating your early childhood. What was your early relationship with your parents and money? What were the things that you were told about money? How did your parents experience money? Because a lot of times we hear these things, money doesn't grow on trees and you have to grind, you have to hustle, all of these programs that are told to us when we're little kids that we take into our subconscious mind without even realizing it. So recognizing what the story was when you were a child growing up in your household around money, and where are those similarities between how that was in your household and how that is now in your life. Once you have that awareness, you can already start to see what needs to shift, right? What needs to shift in your life. And it's always about really beginning to recognize those patterns, those habits, those behaviors that you have now that aren't serving you, right? Those patterns, those, like, for instance, for me, when before I wouldn't look at my money, I had lots of money. And so I just wouldn't look at it. I wouldn't look at my finances, because even though I had money, looking at my finances brought up insecurity and anxiety in my nervous system. And I didn't want to feel that. So I just didn't look at them. Right. But that's not a healthy relationship. That's like, if you think of money like your partner, if you're not communicating with your partner, right, it's clear that there's not a healthy relationship there. So recognizing what those patterns and habits are. Another pattern that I used to have many years ago was when I was kind of going through difficult times in my life, I would go out and spend a lot of money. And the interesting thing was, is most of the time I didn't even buy things that I really wanted.
Did it change how you felt spending the money, or did you
No.
still feel the same?
Yeah. I mean, like, kind of momentarily, right? I kind of get this like this hit of chemicals in my body. It's an endorphin hit. And then I would immediately just be like, I didn't even want this. Why did I just spend that money? I didn't even really want this thing. So I started to see that pattern in myself. And I started to recognize, that was coming from an insecurity, an emotional insecurity within myself. So recognizing how, again, break it down. How do you receive money? Just the same as how do you receive compliments? How do you receive love? How do you receive attention? It's all the same. How do you hold on to money? It's great to save money, but are you saving on to money because you're fear? And you don't spend money because you're scared? That's not healthy either. We want to be holding on to money, saving money from a place of security within ourselves. And then the same with, spending money. Again, are you spending money like I was spending money? Are you spending money frivolously? Are you kind of disconnected when you're spending money? Are you scared to spend money? And are you really like pinching your pennies? This is all fundamentally going to show you your true relationship and how you really feel around money. And then you can start to change those habits.
Yeah, because a lot of people, a lot of it is rooted in fear of losing money. Because, like you said, some of those quotes, money doesn't grow on trees. Another one is the money is the root of all evil, and people
Yeah.
start these programmings really start messing with your head, and you're like, oh man, I don't money's gonna make me a bad person, or me making a lot of money makes me a bad person, when in real reality it doesn't have nothing to do with it. It's more of, these are just programmings that people have they've instilled in you from a child.
It's such an important that you just mentioned that, because we project our fear onto money. We believe that money, is the root of all evil. If you have lots of money, you're greedy. If you want money, you're greedy. Money is a neutral entity. It's just a resource, just like food. And, the truth is just like food right now, we need it to survive. We need it to engage in society. And you get to choose. You get to choose if you have lots of money, if you're greedy or not. There's no like line, right? Like, oh, if you have $500,000 in the bank, you're not greedy. Oh, but as soon as you have $501, oh, now you're a greedy person, right? Like, that just doesn't exist. But we kind of have that in our mind. that if we reach a certain amount of money, whatever that certain amount, very obtuse, who knows what that amount is, we'll
Yeah.
start to become greedy. And yeah, that's all just programming. There's nothing that is truth within that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you're a $500. You're a good person. Once you hit 501, oh no, you're greedy and selfish, and yeah, and it has nothing to do with that.
Absolutely. You get to choose what you do with your money and your integrity.
So how can entrepreneurs begin to identify the specific energy blocks that hold them back?
Usually it's what's not working. You know, oftentimes we like to hold on to things because they've worked in the past. And the minute something stops working or starts to slow down, again, that already signifies flow. So if you have a system or strategy in your business that has stopped working or has slowed down, then pause and begin to question, become curious as to why and where, again, where's your intuition guiding you? Where is that flow? It's usually in a slightly different strategy, a slightly different system. The other thing is boredom. When I have clients tell me that they're bored in their business, that means they've shut off the tap. And that's not where you want to be when it comes to abundance. You want your abundance to come from that aliveness of you gifting your talents, your genius to the world. So if you're bored in your business, you want to again step back and ask yourself, where is that passion for your business? Where is the aliveness? What do you keep saying no to when you actually need to say yes to it and you need to say no to something else?
What are some of the daily practices that you recommend for aligning one's energy with their financial goals?
This is a beautiful question. First and foremost, breathe into your body. Just start by taking some nice deep breaths. And then bring your awareness to your heart. Breathe into your heart and ask yourself, who is this version of me that I want to be? What does that life look like? What does that life feel like? With your eyes closed, start to allow yourself to imagine your ultimate life, your ultimate vision, what you truly desire to create. Like I said, when you do this, you start to activate your brain and you start to activate chemical reactions. And what we really want is not just the imagination, not just the thought. We want the emotion. Emotion is energy in motion, and you can program your body, you can program your cells using emotion. So what is the emotion that you feel in that life? So as an example, let's say, you want to really have a successful business. You imagine, what does that look like for you? And you see yourself working with clients and really helping people, and you feel a sense of fulfillment, right? You feel a sense of purpose. You see that you are helping people. It fills you up with those emotions. You want to really breathe into those emotions and activate those emotions. Or maybe as you're visualizing it, you sense financial freedom, right? Like just this ability to create wealth easily, effortlessly, without grinding, without chasing, without this struggle, without this exhaustion, right? This sense of freedom, this sense of always having that money when you need it and being able to utilize that money to create the life that you want. Again, that sense of freedom, that sense of security, those are emotions that you really want to tap into. And if you do this every single day, and I have a meditation that people can do. It's called a daily wealth activation that takes you through this process every single day. If you do this every single day, you will create it. You will create it. Now, things will come up. Your limiting beliefs will come up. The things that you believe are not possible for you will come up. But if you continue to take action through this process, you will achieve it.
How do you define true success beyond just financial achievements?
I believe that success is really up to the individual. So again, as I mentioned, what is that for you? When you bring in that version of you, that's, like the example I used, you're helping all those clients. Success for you would really be about that fulfillment of helping others. That's success. When you feel that energy in your body and in your life, that's success for you. Or maybe success for you is that financial freedom that you get to, take your family and go on adventures and experience life to its fullest. That's success for you. So it's really those fundamental states of being, the states of being, how we feel in ourselves. And when we understand that and we use the process that I just explained, you can create it now. You can feel successful right now. If you define what that means for you, you can feel it and experience it now. This, again, collapses time. You don't have to wait to experience fulfillment. You don't have to wait to experience financial freedom. If you understand what I speak to today, you can experience that through the imagination and the emotions. You can start to create that right now in your space, experience it. And that can never be taken from you. Because even if you lose your job or something shifts in your reality, you know how to cultivate that energy from within yourself. So you can always tap into that and continue to recreate in your life.
What does legacy enterprise look like in your vision, and how do you guide leaders to build one?
Hmm. I believe that legacy is really about creating something that serves humanity. Ultimately, wealth is relationship, right? Wealth is the art of exchange. And that exchange is, as we mentioned, first and foremost with ourselves, with ourself and our relationship to God, ourself and our relationship to source, ourself and our relationship to money, ourself and our relationship to our business. And as we cultivate a healthy relationship, a loving relationship with self, we can really ultimately show up and serve humanity in a much more profound way. And that kind of service, the old way of serving humanity is to sacrifice ourselves to serve humanity, right? To grind, to push, to exhaust yourself to better other people's lives. But it's not sustainable. It's constantly built on this foundation that naturally wants to collapse. Because the only thing that's self-sustaining is love. And not the emotion of love, but the fundamental, unconditional energy of acceptance of ourself and our relationship to God. So as we cultivate that, and everything we create is from that energy of love, from that energy of acceptance, that is a ripple effect. That is the ripple that a tiny little drop can ripple out into humanity and continue to ripple from one person to the next. It's beyond sustainable. It's naturally expansive. And so if somebody's listening to this and they want to create legacy, then this conversation about the relationship to wealth, the relationship to themselves is fundamental to truly creating a legacy that will carry forward and really elevate the lives of themselves, their family, their children, and everybody that it touches.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's like I said, Tim, for me this year, I've really been wanting to focus on my relationship with Source, God, my personal health, making sure that I'm healthy, because that's also part of wealth, is making sure that you're healthy, and it's something that I've been lacking for the last 2 years. The last 2 years have been a struggle. There's been 2023. It was my mom being, she had Alzheimer's and dementia, and and despite all that, the podcast was probably one of my best years in podcasting. People were tuning in, people were listening, but I was not in the right state of mind because I was struggling with what she was going through and everything. So I didn't really get to enjoy that success of the podcast. And then when she passed away last year, actually it was a year ago on February 10th, and it kind of that year really was like another struggle for me because it was like I didn't know where I was at. Like my mind was, I was still doing my show, but it was like I was on automatic pilot from being able to do it for the past 5 years, but I wasn't being fulfilled. And so when this new year started, like I said, I wrote a letter to the universe. I started saying a prayer every morning and working on my breathing and everything like that. And things just started changing. And it's just been like, okay, now and opportunities, things start like just things just falling into place for me that had I not put it out there, I don't know if they would have happened. So I'm a believer. I know the work I've been doing these last few weeks in particular, and seeing the results. It's just been amazing to me.
I'm celebrating you so much. What a beautiful process in, really coming back to your presence. And it takes courage to show up for ourselves. And it takes courage to spend that time, really cut out that time in our day, right? To say every morning I'm going to show up for prayer and breath. Every morning I'm going to show up to this space for myself. So important. I love how you're already seeing that transformation in your life. That speaks just volumes to how powerful it is.
Absolutely. So if you could give one piece of advice to a struggling entrepreneur about embracing their inner power, what would it be?
To pause. The power of the pause. A lot of times right now we hear a lot about slowing down and doing less. It's not always about doing less, but it is about intentional action. And how we create intentional action is pausing between actions and taking those breaths. So, you're doing one action and you finish that. Stop. Breathe into your body. Really make sure that you're centered, you're grounded. And then go about the next action. Just as you so wonderfully put, when we're not present to our reality, when we're not present to our life, we really can't cultivate wealth. This is another thing that I've been shown and very much taught from my higher self was I used to be a very impatient person. I just wanted to get things done. And because I was impatient and I wanted to get things done and I was motivated, I would just really push through stuff. I wasn't intentional and I definitely wasn't fully present to what I was doing. And that's quality. That's the quality that you bring to your life. If you want wealth, you have to show up in the energy of quality. You have to show up with your full presence. So take those moments, pause, breathe, reconnect, ground. All it does is take a couple of breaths. If you breathe into your belly, you signal, this is not spirituality, this is physiology. You signal to your nervous system to shift into rest and digest, which triggers an entire structure, your heart and your mind, and everything drops you into a state of clarity, a state of self-regulation, and a state of connection. This has all been scientifically proven. It's called heart coherence. In this state, you are not reacting, you are responding, you're intentionally creating your reality. So pause, take a couple of breaths, then move into the action. Finish that action, pause, take a couple of breaths, move into the next. It does wonders for the quality of how you show up in your life, and therefore how wealth flows back to you.
Awesome. This has been a great conversation. I really learned a lot in this, and I hope the audience has picked up a lot from everything you've shared. But now we've come to the time where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, plug away everything you have, website, everything.
Wonderful. Yes. So as I mentioned on my website under resources, there's a daily wealth activation. That's what I spoke about today. So you can download that for free and have this activation that you can do every single day. I promise you it works. So my website is alarasage.com. You can find that free resource there. And then I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram at Alara Sage. And anybody can always reach out if you have questions. I really love connection. I really love connecting to people, hearing their stories and supporting them. So you can reach out to me at info@alarasage.com.
Awesome. Don't leave just yet. Let me just close out the show, and I'm gonna chat a little bit off air. But thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. You're more than welcome back. I would love to have you back on the show again. Um, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the books. Had a great conversation. I love it. These are the conversations I love to have, especially where people get to learn and benefit from it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell, like, share with all your friends. As always, big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J, love you guys. Shout out to the boss lady, love you and appreciate you. Um, Shout out to Alara Sage for coming through and dropping some nuggets. This was a very great episode. I really enjoyed it. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.